You never forget the first time someone steals your work, especially when it's something you poured half a year of your life into. At my company, innovation was currency. You didn't just do your job, you built things that made you indispensable. So when I spent 6 months developing an automation tool that could eliminate hundreds of hours of manual work, I thought I was finally about to get my break. My boss loved it, the dev team was impressed, and our CTO personally asked me to prepare a demo for the next investor meeting. That's when Jake entered the picture. Jake was the kind of guy who dressed for promotions he didn't have. Expensive watches, spotless shoes, always with some new story about how he saved the last project. He wasn't a bad developer, just one of those people who was better at managing impressions than actually doing work. So when my manager said, "You'll be co-presenting with Jake, he's great at client-facing stuff," I smiled politely, but felt that tiny red flag rise. Co-presenting, right. I walked him through the project the next day. The codebase was complex, full of scripts that only I really understood. Jake asked questions, nodded a lot, and said things like, "This is brilliant, man. You've done all the hard stuff. I'll just clean up the slides and make sure the execs understand the big picture." It sounded harmless. I was too tired to care. Fast forward to 2 days before the demo. I opened the shared presentation to review my section and stopped cold. My name was gone. Every slide that mentioned the system said, "Developed by Jake R., even though 95% of that code had come from my commits. At first I thought it was a mistake. I messaged him, "Hey, the slides don't have my name, is that final?" He replied almost instantly, "Yeah, I just simplified things. No need for multiple names on technical details. We're one team, right?" Team, in Jake speak, apparently meant I take credit, you take silence. I could have called him out right then, reported him to management, but something about his smugness stopped me. He'd done this before, I could tell, and probably gotten away with it every time. He was confident because no one had ever let him crash. That's when I decided I wasn't going to fight him. I was going to let him walk straight into a wall of his own making, and this time everyone would be watching. I started preparing a new version of the software, one Jake wouldn't know how to control, even if his name was plastered all over it. By the next morning, I'd already made up my mind. If Jake wanted to steal my work, he was going to choke on it. The plan was simple: give him exactly what he thought he wanted. A final build of the automation tool, neat and ready for presentation day. Except this one had a few quirks. Not malicious bugs, nothing that would tank the company or cause real damage, but enough snags to expose someone who didn't understand the system's architecture. I reverted the build to an older version, one I hadn't fully debugged yet. It would look flawless at first glance. But the moment he tried running anything beyond the demo commands, the cracks would start to show. It was poetic justice. The code thief would trip on the very lines he didn't write. I zipped the build and sent it to him with a casual note. "Here's the final version for the demo. Make sure you test it before the presentation." He replied within minutes, "Already did, looks perfect. Nice work, man." Of course he didn't test it. Jake was allergic to real effort. That day, he strutted around the office like he'd already earned a promotion. Every time he passed by my desk, he flashed that fake friendly grin that said, "You should be thanking me." "Big day tomorrow," he said, tapping the edge of my monitor. "Let's make sure this runs smooth, yeah." "Yeah," I said, "let's." When he left, my coworker Priya rolled her chair over. She'd been there through every version of my project, helping me test features after hours. "You're way too calm," she said, narrowing her eyes. "What are you planning?" I grinned. "Let's just say karma, about to go live on stage." She laughed. "Please tell me you're recording it." "Oh, absolutely." By evening, Jake had sent an all-staff email announcing that his project would be presented to the executive team and a handful of investors. I could practically feel the ego dripping off every word. "I'm excited to show how our automation framework will redefine efficiency," he'd written, conveniently forgetting who built it. Fine, he wanted a spotlight. I'd let him have the brightest one possible. That night, I stayed late in the office, testing the older build one more time. It behaved exactly how I remembered, polished on the surface, chaos underneath. The kind of thing only the real developer could handle under pressure. As I closed my laptop, I caught my reflection in the screen, not angry anymore, just focused. Jake thought he'd beaten me at office politics. What he didn't realize was that he just volunteered to humiliate himself in front of everyone who mattered. The next morning, I took a front row seat in the conference room, coffee in hand, ready to watch the fireworks begin. The presentation was scheduled for 10 a.m., but Jake showed up at 9:30, already in performance mode. He wore his best suit, the kind of slick gray one that screamed "promotion incoming," and strutted into the conference room carrying my code on a flash drive like it was the Ark of the Covenant. "Big day," he said, flashing me that smirk. "You nervous?" "Not at all," I said, sipping my coffee. "You?" He chuckled. "I was born for this." The room filled quickly. Executives, team leads, even the CTO, all seated around a long table, polite smiles and expensive watches everywhere. The air hummed with the quiet hum of ambition. Jake began his intro with the enthusiasm of a TED Talk reject. "Good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to present our new automation framework, a solution I've been developing that will completely transform our workflow." Nice touch. I leaned back in my chair and let him roll with it. He launched the demo, clicking confidently through the slides I'd built, narrating lines he didn't write. The first few commands worked smoothly, the part of the script even an intern could run. People nodded, impressed. The CTO leaned forward, intrigued. Then Jake decided to show off. "This system," he said, "is so robust it can handle complex batch queries with ease." He ran a live input, the same one that triggered the first bug. The terminal froze. A second later, the program started spitting nonsense, a cascade of recursive loops filling the screen like a digital seizure. The room went dead silent except for the frantic clacking of his keyboard. "A minor glitch," Jake stammered, forcing a laugh. "Just a formatting issue." He killed the process and restarted. Same result, only this time. The console threw an error message that literally read, "User attempted unauthorized override. Please contact system administrator." That was me. Jake's face flushed crimson. He tried to pivot, babbling about new security protocols, but the CTO frowned. "Did you test this before today?" Of course I did," Jake said, sweat beading on his temple. That's when I decided to step in. Calmly, I raised my hand. "Actually, if you don't mind, I think I can fix that. I worked on some of the back-end scripts." The CTO gestured. "By all means." I walked up, plugged in my laptop, and ran the real version, the debugged, optimized one. The system launched perfectly, executing every function without a hiccup. Charts, outputs, performance metrics, all seamless. When the applause started, I didn't even look at Jake. I just said, "Looks like the build I used was a little more stable." The CTO turned to him. "Jake, which version did you submit?" He didn't answer. He just sat there, staring at the screen like it had betrayed him. By the end of that day, everyone in the office knew what had happened, and Jake, promotion day, turned into a full-blown HR meeting. By lunchtime, the story had already spread through the entire office like a gas leak. No one said anything to me directly, but I caught the sideways glances, the half-suppressed grins, the whispered, "Did you see what happened?" exchanges near the coffee machine. Jake didn't come back after the presentation. His desk sat empty, monitors off, chair pushed in like he'd evaporated. HR had called him in right after the meeting, and rumor had it the CTO himself sat in. I didn't need to hear what was said. The silence spoke for itself. I tried to focus on my work, but the Slack pings wouldn't stop. Bro, that demo. He looked like a deer in headlights. You're a legend. Even Priya, who usually stayed out of gossip, slid over and said, "You know you just executed a live career assassination, right?" I shrugged. He did it to himself. She smirked. "Sure, but you loaded the gun." By the end of the day, I got the call I knew was coming. "Can you come to HR for a moment?" Sandra, our HR manager, sounded calm but formal, the same tone she used when handling corporate cleanups. Her office smelled like vanilla air freshener and legal liability. She gestured for me to sit. "We wanted to thank you for stepping in during the presentation. That could have gone very poorly." "Happy to help," I said. She smiled, then glanced at her notes. Jake admitted that most of the project wasn't his. "We compared the commit logs you provided, and, well, there's no doubt. He's no longer with the company." I didn't feel joy, just relief. The kind of tired peace you get after holding your breath for too long. Sandra continued, "Management was impressed with how you handled the situation. The CTO specifically mentioned offering you lead developer on the project moving forward." I blinked seriously. She nodded. "Congratulations, you've earned it." When I left her office, the hallway felt different, lighter. The people who'd ignored me before now nodded or smiled, not out of pity but respect. Still, part of me couldn't shake a strange sense of unease. Jake wasn't the type to vanish quietly. That night as I was packing up, I noticed something on my monitor, an unread email. The sender's name made my stomach tighten. From Jake R. Subject: "You think this is over?" I hesitated, finger hovering over the mouse, then clicked. "Enjoy your little victory, but don't forget the internet loves a good villain. Hope your code as clean as you think it is." I sat back, exhaling slowly. The man had just been fired and he was still trying to start something. I found out what he meant. Someone had uploaded a heavily edited clip of the presentation online, and it was already climbing the ranks of workplace revenge videos. By the time I got to the office the next morning, everyone already knew. Someone, probably Jake, had uploaded the presentation footage to Reddit under the title, "Guy steals coworker's code, gets exposed live in front of CEO." It was everywhere: TikTok edits, Twitter clips, LinkedIn think pieces about workplace integrity. At first I thought it was funny. The thumbnail was Jake's panicked face frozen mid-sentence, with the console behind him flashing "access denied." The top comment read, "Imagine stealing code and forgetting how to run it." Another said, "Plot twist, Karma's a developer." The internet was having a field day. But as the views climbed 100K, 500K, 1.2 million, the humor started to fade. I hadn't posted it, but everyone assumed I had. By noon, my inbox was flooded. Reporters asking for interviews, recruiters wanting to connect. Even my mom sent me the link with the caption, "You're famous. Should I be proud or concerned?" At first, management stayed quiet. Then I got an email from HR asking for a quick chat. Sandra looked exhausted when I walked into her office. "You didn't post it, did you?" "No," I said, "but I can guess who did." She sighed. "We can't prove that, and PR is asking for a statement. The board wants this handled before it spirals further." "Handled how?" "Damage control," she said. "We'll emphasize that the issue was resolved internally and you acted professionally, but try not to engage online, okay?" I nodded, but it was already too late. The clip had escaped containment. Every subreddit from r/antiwork to r/mildly infuriating was sharing it. Someone even remixed it into a TikTok meme with dramatic music. By the end of the day, Jake's name was trending locally. The comments had turned cruel, personal, even. People dug up his LinkedIn, left clown emojis on his posts, and memed him into oblivion. I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I felt weirdly hollow. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I'd wanted justice, not internet fame. That night, I got another email, this one anonymous. No greeting, no signature, just a message that read, "You wanted to embarrass me. Fine. But don't act surprised when I return the favor." I closed my laptop, my stomach sinking. The next morning, I walked into the office to find it huddled around my workstation, and the look on their faces told me Jake's revenge had already begun. When I walked into the office the next morning, the energy felt off. Conversations stopped as I passed, and a few coworkers exchanged quick, nervous glances. My workstation, usually neat and untouched, was surrounded by two IT guys and my manager. "Morning," I said slowly. "Something wrong?" One of the techs looked up. "Your credentials triggered a breach flag. Someone tried to access secure files from your account last night." My stomach dropped. "What? I wasn't even logged in." "That's the thing," he said. "It came from your profile, but the location was traced to an external IP offsite." My manager frowned. "You're sure you didn't share your credentials with anyone?" I shook my head. "Never." The techs ran a few more checks while I stood there, pulse hammering. Then one of them opened the screen logs, and there it was, a string of attempted logins using my username. Someone had tried to pull project source code, HR data, and internal emails. Jake, it had to be Jake. But saying that out loud would sound like paranoia. He was already gone, officially terminated for misconduct. Still, this was too specific, too personal. "Looks like someone got your old password through phishing," one of the techs said finally. "We'll reset your credentials and monitor for suspicious activity. Just be careful what you click on." I nodded, but I wasn't buying it. Jake was too tech-savvy to fall for generic attacks, and he definitely knew how to mimic an internal breach. As the IT team packed up, Priya stopped by my desk, lowering her voice. "Hey, I heard about the breach. You think it's him, don't you?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "He sent me an email last night. No name, but it sounded like a threat." Her eyes widened. "You should report that." "I did," I lied. "I hadn't told HR yet, not without proof." That afternoon, Sandra from HR called me in again. "The PR team is worried," she said bluntly. "This story's still circulating online. The breach looks bad even if it's not your fault." "I didn't leak anything," I said firmly. "I know, but perception matters," she sighed. "For now, just keep your head down, let us handle it." Easy for her to say. That evening, as I was shutting down my system, another email came through, no subject line, just an attachment labeled proof. Every instinct told me not to open it, but curiosity won. I clicked. It was a screen recording from the demo day, except this version was edited. My voice was cut to sound arrogant, smug, like I was mocking Jake. The clip ended with a caption: "Corporate snake humiliates coworker for clout." My hands went cold. The next morning, the video hit social media, and this time, I was the villain everyone loved to hate. By sunrise, my notifications were a firestorm. Mentions, tags, DMs, all poisoned. Someone had posted Jake's edited video to Reddit under the title, "Cocky developer publicly destroys coworker for clout." And it was trending. The comments were brutal. "This guy's a sociopath. Imagine humiliating your teammate just to look smart. Fired the wrong one." It didn't matter that it was fake. The internet doesn't do fact checks, it does pitchforks. When I walked into the office, the change was immediate. Conversations stopped. People didn't meet my eyes. One coworker muttered, "Guess he finally got his 15 minutes," under his breath. Even Priya looked shaken when I reached my desk. "Hey," she whispered. "Don't freak out, but they're talking about you in management. That video's everywhere. HR's scrambling." I opened my laptop and saw it firsthand. The clip had nearly 1 million views. The worst part, it was convincing. Jake had edited it so well it looked like I deliberately humiliated him, laughing while he failed. The captions twisted my words. Every smirk looked cruel, every pause rehearsed. HR called me in before lunch. Sandra looked like she hadn't slept. "We know it's edited," she said, "but the board's worried about optics. Clients are starting to notice. They're asking questions about our culture." "I didn't post anything," I said. "Jake doing this. He hacked my account, he's—" She held up a hand. "We're investigating, but until it's resolved, the company thinks it's best if you take some time off." "Time off," I repeated. "You mean suspension?" Her silence confirmed it. I walked out numb. Half the office stared. The rest avoided looking at me at all. That night I sat at my kitchen table scrolling through the comments. My name, my face, my voice, all turned into a villain's highlight reel. The same internet that had cheered for me last week now wanted my head. And then, in the middle of the chaos, an email appeared in my inbox. No subject, just a line of text. "You wanted to ruin me, so I ruined you. We're even now." No name, no signature, but I didn't need one. I stared at the screen until my reflection blurred. Jake wasn't content with revenge. He wanted me erased, the same way I'd erased him, and he was almost there. But the thing about playing dirty with someone who built the system is that I still had the logs, the emails, and every line of proof he'd ever sent. And this time, I wasn't going to the company, I was going public. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, staring at the glow of my laptop screen, scrolling through the wreckage Jake had made of my name. Every repost, every thread dissecting my ego. It didn't matter that it was fake. Once the narrative sticks online, truth becomes optional. But Jake made one mistake. He underestimated the fact that I build systems for a living. I knew digital footprints don't vanish, they just hide. By morning, I'd pulled up my archived emails and dug into the metadata of the fake clip. Every reposted copy had one consistent digital fingerprint, the same rendering software tag Jake used for his portfolio videos. Sloppy, predictable. That was all I needed. I compiled everything, timestamps, his old threatening emails, proof of the breach, and the original footage from the company's internal server. Then I reached out to one of the reporters who had emailed me during the first viral wave. She'd written about corporate scandals before. I attached the files with one sentence. "Here, what really happened." Within 12 hours, she replied, "This story's explosive. If you're willing to go on record, I can expose the edit trail and clear your name." I hesitated. Going public meant dragging the company into it, too. But the truth was already bleeding online. At this point, silence looked like guilt. So I said yes. By the next day, the article dropped. "Fired developer fakes viral video to frame ex-coworker." It hit every major tech forum within hours. The piece included side-by-side comparisons of the real and fake clips, metadata trails, and screenshots of Jake's messages. The comments flipped overnight. "So the guy was framed, damn. Justice for the dev. That other dude's career is done." The same accounts that had dragged me now spammed apologies. HR called within minutes, apologizing for the misunderstanding and offering to revisit my suspension. Sandra even sounded relieved. "We've already contacted our legal team," she said. "Jake's actions qualify as cyber defamation." But I wasn't angry anymore, just tired. That night as I walked home, the city lights reflected off puddles on the street, cold, sharp, and clean. My name was cleared, but the taste of victory felt different this time. Not sweet, just quiet. Before shutting down for the night, I opened my inbox one last time. A new message was waiting. No subject, no sender name. Just 4 words in the body. "Round 2 starts soon." I stared at the screen, pulse steady. If Jake wanted another round, fine, but this time I wasn't playing defense. The email hit me like a chill. "Round 2 starts soon." No threats, no details, just that line. I almost deleted it, but something told me this wasn't an idle bluff. Jake had already proved how far he'd go. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. My social accounts were suddenly flooded again, but this time it wasn't old clips or fake quotes. It was something worse: screenshots of my private messages, personal ones. Conversations from months ago with coworkers and friends, some edited, some real but twisted out of context. One headline stood out: "The innocent developer who leaked his coworkers' data." I felt the blood drain from my face. Jake hadn't just hacked my email, he'd gotten into my cloud backup. For the first time, I felt real fear. I called Sandra immediately. "He's leaking private stuff," I said. "You need to get legal on this now." She sounded grim. "We're already tracking it. Our security team traced a new IP address. We think he's using a VPN out of state, but we have enough for a cybercrime report. We're filing it today." That was something, but it didn't help the knot in my stomach. The internet doesn't care about court orders. Once something's out, it's out. That night, I drove to the office even though I wasn't supposed to be working. The building was quiet, just the hum of servers and the flicker of monitors in the dark. I logged in from a secure terminal and began combing through old access logs. If Jake wanted war, I needed a weapon he couldn't twist. After an hour, I found it. Hidden deep in the archived commits, an admin-level snapshot of the codebase from the day before the demo. It included internal notes, timestamps, and Jake's name embedded in the comments. Proof that he'd copied my files directly into his own directory before replacing my credentials. I stared at the screen, pulse quickening. This wasn't just evidence, this was checkmate. By morning, I sent the package to both HR and the same journalist who'd broken the last story. No explanations, just a note. This is how it really started. By noon, the headline hit every feed. "Disgraced developer behind viral scandal caught in new data leak investigation." Jake's house of cards collapsed instantly. His remaining supporters turned on him, his accounts vanished, and police confirmed they were assisting in an ongoing digital intrusion case. For the first time in weeks, I exhaled. It was over. Or at least I thought it was, until my phone buzzed again that night. Unknown number, one line of text. "You shouldn't have gone public." When the message came through, I almost laughed. You shouldn't have gone public. After everything, I figured it was just empty posturing, the last gasp of a man who'd already lost. But by the next morning, I realized Jake wasn't bluffing. I woke up to pounding on my door. 2 police officers stood outside. "Are you Nathan Carter?" one of them asked. "Yeah," I said cautiously. "What's going on?" They exchanged a look. "We received an anonymous report claiming you stole proprietary company data and leaked it to the press." It felt like déjà vu, the same accusation that started this whole mess, only now weaponized again. Jake's fingerprints were all over it. He'd flipped the story one last time. I let them search my workspace, confident I had nothing to hide. They found nothing, of course. Still, the humiliation lingered, standing there, explaining to law enforcement that the guy who'd been fired for theft was framing me for the same thing. After they left, I sat on the couch, staring at my phone. The calls, the emails, the chaos, all of it had one purpose: to make me break, to make me angry enough to fight on his terms. Not this time. I opened my laptop and dug through every digital trail from the last few weeks. I wasn't just looking for evidence anymore. I wanted the endpoint, the moment Jake would have slipped. Everyone who thinks they can erase themselves online eventually makes one fatal mistake. It took hours, but I found it. Buried in the metadata of one of the fake leaks, a residual tag from his old work account, left behind when he exported the files. The ID string matched the company's archived employee registry, Jake's name, time-stamped after his termination. There it was, proof he'd continued hacking the company long after he was gone. I sent it to the same detective who'd visited me that morning, along with a note that simply said, "He's still inside your system." 2 days later, I got a call back. They'd found him. Jake had been operating from a parking space 2 cities away, running spoofed accounts and false IPs, trying to stay ahead of the investigation. When they arrested him, he was still logged into a remote access portal, the same one he'd used to frame me. The story hit the news before lunch. Fired developer arrested for cyber harassment and fraud. His mugshot replaced all the old memes. For once, the internet was on my side. But when I read the article, I didn't feel triumphant. Just done. The noise, the drama, the digital warfare, all of it had taken something out of me I couldn't quite name. That evening, I went back to the office one last time. I turned in my badge, cleared my desk, and walked out into the warm dusk. For the first time in months, no one was watching me through a screen. I didn't need revenge anymore. I had something better: silence.